my dedication has always been to my community. That community service as a prosecutor, I had the greatest job in the world. Being a prosecutor was an amazing job. When I became a judge, I realized that my focus had changed from being a litigator and a trial lawyer to now being an arbitrator of the law, and to follow the law and to ensure that those laws in the courtroom were followed. But more importantly, my job became empowering folks that came into my courtroom to solve their own problem. Being a prosecutor was one of the greatest jobs in the world. I was literally, in 25 years, I got to do the right thing every day. I woke up in the morning, I always looked forward to going to work because I knew that this day would be completely different than any other day that I've ever had. And the reason being is that I made a difference in people's lives. I was a chief of the gang prosecution unit, and you're right, Andy. What I saw over the years, the violence that I saw over the years, the amount of the number of homicides, the type of violence that was inflicted upon innocent victims, it literally shaped my experience so that I would become much more sympathetic in many ways and much more understanding of what people had to go through. You know, being a gang prosecutor, you have to have discretion. There are many times where I encountered young kids that had done, for lack of a better, they had made a mistake. And instead of taking them and putting handcuffs on them and having the police put handcuffs on them and throw them in jail, I went ahead and I spoke with them and I took them home to their families. And my favorite time was when I would take them home to the grandparents, because I knew once the child got to the grandparent and the grandparent found out what they had done, there's no court that would solve the problem the way that they could solve the problem. But the reality of it is that you get to make a difference in these folks' lives and you give them a second chance at success. When I was out on the streets, it didn't matter where I was. People knew me. After 25 years of being a prosecutor, the people on the streets knew me. They recognized me. And they would come up and say, "Hey, Mr. Ledee, it's good to see you. How are you?" And they would have that interaction. They'd feel comfortable. And many of those folks would never speak to a police officer. They were scared to speak to police officers, but they would speak to me. And the reason being is that I built an environment of trust. Now, at the very same time, I encountered and I prosecuted some of the most violent offenders that have ever been in South Florida.